Um, Welcome everybody to Help. I have my first listing. This is a series and seminar designed to help specifically new agents first into the business, first listing. And it's great because it will give an overview of what you'll need to take into account and to be able to do to get a listing up on the market effectively. Now, if you follow everything in here, you will probably be, I would say, a good 95% ahead of most agents. For those agents that already are in the business and selling, hopefully this will be a reminder of some things, but also maybe will prompt other things that you can do to make the most out of your listing and get it up on the market effectively. And then for those that are just killing it in the business, I'm sure we call it seller journey is amazing. And of course, we're always looking for ways to improve. But this is sort of optimal, and it's always a continuous journey that we add things to, we modify, we try and make better. Because the better we do from a compliance standpoint, of course, keeps us out of trouble, and our sellers obviously will be super happy. But really, what we're trying to do is create a service level that exceeds the expectations of a seller. So you get repeat referral business, and that's what we want. Is we want to build our business foundationally with really solid service levels so that our business will flourish. So what we're going to talk about today is going to be the pre-listing preparations, the first day on the market, every week after, and then when you firm up and you close the deal, and post-close, Realtor for Life program, that sort of thing. So it creates referrals. To start things off, I wanted to let everybody know that I created a support checklist. And I love this for our help series, first listing, first offer, first showing we've done so far. So this is a checklist so that you don't, miss steps. And I think it's really, really useful. It is included with this video, probably in the link below, wherever you may be watching it, YouTube or Excel. However, it is always available on our Drive as well. And we'll be able to create or give you the link on that as well. So moving through the support checklist, I may decide just to kind of pause the presentation and go to the checklist just to kind of show you how it works as well, kind of as a reference between slides and everything. As you can see, and I'm going to do that now. I'm just going to exit here, and I'm going to move over to the help checklist here. Created in Docs, and I can always make it bigger so you can see a little better. And I haven't created a PDF on this, but I think I'll put a PDF available as well, possibly fillable, so you can fill it in. Just, it's a lot easier when it's a fillable form. Although with this Google Doc, I can checklist item. So it puts a cross in between. So kind of nice. And PDFs, you can always put a check mark, but it doesn't look as nice with the cross. So however you want to do your checklists, that's fine with me. You will be able to go to File and download, or make a copy in order to edit. So if you're in the Google Drive and you see these forms, just make sure that you do have to either download it or make a copy in order to edit. When I constructed the form, I felt it appropriate in order to create a first initial sheet, because when I was selling as well on a team, we had checklist items, but we also had key information, key date tracking, and we'd put it on the front of a folder. And so anyone can grab the folder at any time and get quick information. For example, if you got a phone call from somebody, maybe you're working on the listing on behalf of, or you just want quick reference to key house information, that would be there as well. So what we've put on here is definitely an organized date tracking for the listing at the beginning. And what that will do is, on there, show the seller that you're organized, but also keep you up to date with key dates. And I would always suggest to take these dates and put it into your phone as a reminder on your calendar. So what we've put here is a pre-inspection date. If you decide to do a pre-inspection of the home, that date would go there. A staging date, if you're staging the home. Cleaning, if you're cleaning the home. MLS date that you're going to be signing the sheets. So actually form signing. And then the date that you're planning to go live is an important date. And then your first open house date. So just some key dates. Feel free to edit this form. If you have dates that you're doing other things, add it. The other thing is like, make a copy for every listing, and this is not static. This is dynamic. Make this listing checklist for 123 Main Street, and then delete things that you're not doing. If you're not offering cleaning, don't do cleaning. If you're doing drone photography and they're going to be here on a different date than the actual photography, put that in there. So this is you can change this up. Okay. The key house information, I just want as a quick reference for key dates, for example, of when the home was built, when the shingles were last done, when the windows were done, furnace, any defects needing disclosure, any notes that you're going to take on the listing. Again, fully customizable. Feel free. Bedrooms, bathrooms, basement. As if you don't know the bedrooms in the home, that might be a problem. So I didn't put that on here as obvious stuff. There are other sheets like your MLS data form where you're going to put that type of information. And I know age of home is, on data sheets now as well, but things like shingles and windows and furnace, those aren't. So that's why this sheet is here. So feel free to use it as you may need it. I am going to go through overview very quickly, all the checklist items that you should be considering when listing a home. And then I'm going to go into detail to talk about that. When I do these seminars, I often feel, how deep do we dive into each of the topics? So just to let you know, when it comes to listings, through the beginning, pre-home inspection, everything, firm up, aftercare, everything, really, we could have a 1 to 2 hour seminar on major topics in there, just filling out forms, for example. So I'm going to, breeze through this so that, we can get through a basic overview. But I do want to make note that there are seminars specifically on things like listing presentations and how to win the listing, or offer presentations, or how to do an offer presentation in a seller's market with 10 multiple offers and all that sort of stuff. So, we can always dive into that information in separate seminars. But for today, I really want everyone to know a really good overview of listing a house. Okay, so let's start off with the pre-listing. You're going to have an initial call and visit. And again, I'm not going into detail here. I will flip over to my slides, go into more detail, but I want to go through this fairly quickly. So you got the initial call, all your research, property line, geo warehouse, title search, square footage reports, check area influences, any open permits with the municipality. Make sure you do a CMA, listing presentation, your RICO information brochure signed, listing agreement signed, confirming if you're holding off offers, your post-listing presentation gift, and I'll go into detail on that. Create a shared drive for form access. I will explain that, but essentially I'm creating a drive in my Google Drive or Dropbox or any of the cloud drives where you can share it with your seller so that they have access to any of the documentation that you're providing. Scheduling auxiliary services such as your Spotlight marketing program, which will take care of everything here. But if you're taking care, you're going to need to book photography, videography, drones, stagers, cleaners, pre-home inspections, stuff like that. MLS data sheet, make sure to fill that out, obviously. Listing agreement done for the MLS. We were doing a listing agreement previously up here for exclusive. Now we have to put it on the MLS. Fin tracker. Listing direction to hold off offers, listing information sheet for the front desk, lockbox on the front door, preload the listing on the website for Google SEO, load the listing as a draft day prior, feature sheets, get them ready for the house, schedule the just listed flyers to go out in the area homes. So these are, if you're doing door knocking, put that on there. These are things that you're pre-listing, booking them in, scheduling them in. Utilize your calendar as well and invite people to your calendar if needed. Very, very good way to organize dates. And then when you're at the first day on the market, you're going to load the listing live at 9 a.m. I'm going to tell you dates and times for that. Start boost campaign on social media, should you be doing that. Confirming on realtor.ca and the websites, looking for the listing. How does it display? Call clients to notify that it is live and check the listing. have them check the listing, book and promote the open houses for the weekend, check the Schedule B, make sure it's attached as well as any other attachments, confirm the signs on the property, set up a daily prospect search for new comparable listings. That one there I don't have a slide for, so I'm just going to tell you that's a great idea to do for the seller, for the area homes and comparable homes in the neighborhood and or city town that you're doing that listing in. It sets them up just to keep them up to date with all the comparables that are coming onto the market or coming off for that matter. Log into Broker Bay and confirm all the information for showings on Broker Bay. The first week on the market, you need to follow up on showings, call clients and give them updates, social posting, videos, door knocking the area with flyers, door knock the area's open house invites for the weekend, internet search for online exposure. And then weekly stats email to the clients, keep them informed, communicate, daily showing feedback calls, daily feedback with clients. After firm and closing, so you're going to firm up and do just sold flyers, area homes, door knock the area, closing day gift, and then a whole nurture program for Realtor for Life. Now, I went through that really quickly, but as you can see, my complete seller journey is in a checklist. If you decide that you have other things that you do, great, add them. If you decide that you're not doing certain things, great, take them away. Every listing should have a listing checklist, and it should be customized for that listing. And this is a good template to start with. So now what I'd like to do is go back over to our presentation and talk about some of these things. So we're going to start. Let's go with the slideshow there. Just kind of, there we go. The initial consultation. Okay, so let's go right back to the beginning. I like painting pictures, like scenarios. So somebody gives you a call and says, I would like to sell my house. You know, however you got that lead, great. But they want to sell their house. So you're going to ask them questions, and typically over the phone because you have them on the phone because they've called you. So it can be over the phone, or you can say, tell you what, why don't we meet tonight at 8 o'clock and let's talk about it. Now, the reason why I like to do over the phone is because if you don't come prepared with a lot of information, you're going to have egg on your face and they're not going to choose you. You have the first chance to make a good impression. Make sure you take that first chance, not for the initial consultation, but for the actual presentation. So over the phone, I'm suggesting you confirm the address, motivations, why they're looking to sell, get statistical details about the home, how many beds, how many baths, the condition of the home, any upgrades, and, you know, all the information you can think about for that home. Book a house visit, right? Go see the house. Now, this is where I'm going to say there's a 1 and 2 step approach, and realtors decide which way they want to go about it. Some people will go to the house, have a complete look at the house, fill out even an MLS data form for all the information, take pictures, really put some thought into it, a market evaluation. The problem with that can be that if there is an aggressive realtor that they called as well, they'll go in, do a presentation that day and have them sign because that's how good they are. You could get beat out by somebody who's aggressive. So you decide, you know, I've done both work. I have only once lost to somebody because I wasn't doing the full presentation. And I kind of look back and go, I shouldn't have just done the book a house visit and then book an actual sit down with them to do the presentation for the CMA. So you choose what you do, but I'm just giving you a heads up. The research you do, and we're going to go into details on the research, is important, very important. Okay, you've got to come with all the information about the house, the area, comparables, municipality, area influences, everything. Prepare the market evaluation is going to need to be done, obviously, prior to your visit and or presentation. So we're going to do that as well. So let's talk about research. The research you're going to look has changed, right? It's got a lot more information than what I used to do when I sold, but that's a good thing, right? More information is key. Now we can go in and do a title check, parcel register, which is looking right on title of the property within Geo Warehouse for $36.17 plus tax, I'm sure. So what you're looking for on here is the obviously details of anything that's anything that's registered. against the property, which could be a mortgage. It could be additional mortgages. It could be things like construction loans. I know there's new laws with that, but it could be, things that are leveraged, and you're looking for just things that are out of the blue, right? In this case, you see two charges. That's two mortgages, a first and a second, right? You'll also see a lien that's here, right? So you have to look into this $9,000 lien that has to be paid off before they sell it. So, red flags, right? The property line report. That is, in addition to Geo Warehouse, there is Property Line by MPAC. I like this one for the Realtor Residential Detail Report. That will give you square footage and more details about what the municipality really is. It's not municipality, but it kind of is. It is the people that give a value to the home to base your taxes on, right? So that is available to you as well, and you should go into that to get the square footage as well as things like age of the home. Other details, do they know that the basement is finished? This is information, especially in the buy side too. If it says the basement's unfinished and it is finished, and then you sell the house, chances are next time it'll come up for reevaluation. They'll know that because there was an MLS deal, and then the taxes may go up, right? So little things like this that you do need to know and be knowledgeable about. Again, more knowledge is key. Keep in mind, all these reports that you're printing off, they can have errors. So you're always confirming these things. You're looking for irregularities. You're looking for things that could just be red flags. Okay. The area influences. This is important. One thing that Realm has, if you're using Realm, is it does have the ability to look into things like schools, public schools, high schools. You're going to need this information when buyers are calling. You need to know it, of course, to impress your seller. Oh, so do you guys go to this public school, that public school, this Catholic school, etc. It also gives other information. That's where you get Geo Warehouse. That's where you're getting your property line reports from the MLS, and Realm does all this for us. However, you may still want to go to the municipality, and I think it's in a coming slide, to find out, is there group homes in the area, right? Is there things that as a realtor living in that town that no other realtor would know unless they did the research or live in the community? So your knowledge is really going to help you win the listing. It's also going to help you sell the house. It's also going to get you out of trouble when you find out things like it's in a airport flight path, or, all that sort of stuff. So make sure you do your research there. Do a mini, actually that is going to be, I'm going to go to this one here, actually, open permits. The mini CMA, I'm going to say do a full CMA, so we'll get to that. Open permits. Planning and community development. So what I've got here is just showing you that you can go to the municipality. A lot of people do not. A lot of agents do not go to the municipality. Those who do find out really great information. They also build rapport with planners and in the department. So go introduce yourself. Say, I'm looking for information on XYZ, 123 Main Street, and ask, is there any open permits on that property? Do you know if there's any group homes in the immediate area of that property? They can give you some maps. It's a great place as a resource for realtors, and I would suggest you do that. An actual CMA. Now, CMAs are current market analysis or valuations, and this is where you're going to put in a lot of thought, and your knowledge as a realtor, it comes into play here. Nobody can do a CMA on a property but the person that is doing the CMA on the property the day that you're doing it. Really, it is so important. It's a market snapshot, and if you're doing it properly, it changes tomorrow. So when somebody comes to me, what do you think of the price of this house? I don't know. I live in the neighborhood. I know the area, but unless I really spent time all day long going out, seeing all the comparables, I'm not going to know. So when you're doing your CMA, take the course that John does on CMA, whether it be in person, we have it available in Excel, but do a proper market analysis. And that involves getting comparable solds. So going into the system, which is whatever Matrix, Realm, whatever you use, and pulling reports on sold properties that are similar. The more similar, the better, because you'll have to do less adjustments and it'll be more accurate. Comparable listed properties. Obviously, sold gives us an idea. It starts to, in my head, it starts ticking down, right? So going, it should be within this range. Oh, well, this one's listed, hasn't sold, and it's a little better than I thought. So the market's a little softer than I thought, or maybe something's wrong with it. I should go out and see it. You go and find out that, 23 cats live there and it smells terrible. Then you find out, oh, that's why it hasn't sold. You don't know that until you go and see the property. Very, very important. And when you are winning the listing, you're going to bring stuff like that up, and the seller's going to be super impressed because the other realtor didn't know that. Okay. So comparable listed properties are give you a better idea of what's happening in the market today rather than what was 2 weeks ago, 2 months ago, or 2 years ago, based on your solds. Trends, market trends, not just about the house and the what's happening in the Canadian marketplace. Localized trends, Remarketer really helps with that. Remarketer brings out, especially if you've upgraded to the Business Master, which is up a little bit more, it gives you actually neighborhood information, not just town neighborhood. So if you want more specific data, the stuff that you get in the essay, the version of Remarketer that we give you is still great because it has the city data and you can break it down to detached, semi-detached. So it's better than most, but you would want to be able to go in there knowing that the days on market are, and the average home is selling in 3 months. Right. Things like that is really important because as much as something sold, on average 3 months, there are ones that went 6 months, there are ones 2 days, and you'll have to explain why that happened. So current market trends are important. Supply and demand. Always talk about two things: supply and demand, and the buyer, and what market value is, and that's what an active buyer is going to pay for that house in an open market that a seller is willing to accept, of course. But what you need to do in order to come up with a detailed market evaluation is pretend you're a buyer. So pulling a list of comparable properties, maybe 2 solds and 4 listed properties, and then doing the adjustments for those upgrades. Again, without going into too much detail, you need to do those adjustments because if a comparable home was 500 square foot bigger, you need to adjust for that. And it's your knowledge as a realtor that will help you through that. And again, take the course to figure those things out because there's a bit of an art to it. The most important thing is that the seller knows you've put some thought into why. Why did you come up with that price, right? I've literally heard of a realtor that walked in with a stack of paper this thick and said, this house is approximately, no, actually said the exact, I would list this house for 1.29. And the seller said, well, why? And he slammed the stuff down because I've been in this business for 30 years and I know this market. And that's all he had to say. Now, I will tell you that seller did not choose to go with that realtor. They told me all about it. They didn't go with that realtor because they found that person arrogant and thought that they, weren't giving specifics, didn't want to do the work. So do the work, do the specifics, and go with confidence. Set a realistic market price. Determine if you're holding offers, when you're coming up with market price and everything. Obviously, these are things you're going to need to determine along with the seller. And that's a whole question. And guess what? There's a whole video on that. It's, listing in a seller's market for multiples and holding off and the best ways to do that. So there's additional resources for that. You're going to do a listing presentation that includes that CMA. I would do the CMA last, and I would make sure to start off the listing presentation. There's a couple of things I want to give you hints on this. Start off the listing presentation, setting the stage that they should be choosing you based on your knowledge and your ability to get the highest and best price for them. Okay. They'll bring up commission eventually, and everything you've done to get the highest and best price, okay, has a value to it. And they'll see that value when negotiating commission. So it's important that you focus on the motivations of the seller, and every slide in your listing presentation should be, how does that get me a higher value? And if you focus on that and you focus on those benefits of the things that you do such as staging, photography, online marketing strategy, all the things to get as many people through that house in a certain amount of time to get the highest and best price, right? Create sense of urgency. Everything you do is to get the highest price. Bring a digital and paper version, and please do this in person. I mean, I shouldn't have to say that, but I probably would imagine there are people out there that are doing Zoom or whatever. I'm not sure, but bring digital and paper just in case. You'll see and start to understand the personality of the seller. Some people are statistically oriented, other people are visual, other people just want to talk. So you're going to have to really be prepared for that, and be prepared, obviously, with your full marketing strategy. If you decide that you're holding off offers, please watch Listing in a Seller's Market. It's really important that if you're holding offers, you're doing it the right way, putting the right detailed information into the listing when you're filling out the listing information on the MLS is important. The remarks for brokers, not putting things like the seller has the right to accept an offer prior to the hold off date and reserves the right not to let you know. Well, no, like you're not allowed to do that, right? So you're getting yourself in trouble if you do. There are ways to do it and ways not to do it, and we go through that in this as well. So make sure that you are aware of that. Right now, we're on a cusp of a market that could be holding off offers as well as could be just negotiating. So the other thing is, don't make maybe the mistake of holding off offers in your market. There's not a lot of buyers in that you're not going to get enough competition to raise the price to an acceptable level for the seller. So these are things to take into consideration. Every single house and area and market is different. So there is no rule of thumb with that other than put some thought to it, know the market. When you're looking at the paperwork, you're going to be logging in either to SkySlope or to WebForms. We use SkySlope as a company to do our organization of our paperwork, which means deficiencies, things that are missing, checklist items, because it is a better program than WebForms. We feel. We've used both. SkySlope just happens to be better technology, I feel. So I do show you these screenshots and stuff in SkySlope. It's very similar in WebForms. The good news is we provide templates for both of them, which means your paperwork and everything are in both and set up for you. So make sure that when you are using SkySlope and or WebForms, you're creating a template. And those templated forms are already there, filled out for you with the clauses you'll need on minimum, especially with offers, but even with listings as well. You're going to make sure the first thing you do at the earliest opportunity is, and you may have already sent this to the seller prior to you showing up and meeting with them, but since you're in person, get that RECO guide signed. Make sure you go through it with them, explain the different services you provide, and make sure that they know that you're designated to represent their interests. Okay. The listing will get signed at that point. You should always be looking for that signature. There's no wins with presentations unless you get signatures. And the first signature you're looking for is an exclusive listing. If you want me to get ready and get going on this with all the dates, times, and working on the marketing and working on, getting all the stage and cleaning, everything done, I need an exclusive listing because we may be running into situations where, we're going to be either I'm going to give you an example of what happened to my neighbor. My neighbor actually was on the good side of things. So they were on the side of the buy. And they had just purchased a house. And I said, well, how'd you purchase the house? They said, this seller was going to be listing their house with a realtor. And my husband's in the roofing business, but the roof had to be done. So we were there and they were re-shingling the roof and they said they were selling. And we said we were looking for a house and they decided to sell it to us. And the nice realtor that called to get the roof done and was doing all the right things did not get commission. They did it privately. There was no agreement in place. Now, I'm not saying that's the only reason why you sign an exclusive. It also, from a RECO standpoint, makes a live listing and the ability for you to give advice, work on the listing, do things like staging, and you're already working for the seller's best interest. Well, that has to be contracted. So exclusive's the best thing. Don't worry about the new Korea rule. That has to do with advertising. You're not advertising an exclusive. You're just getting the permission to start working on it. Okay, so that's the purpose of that. Do create a shared drive for the sellers like we talked about earlier. That can be done in any cloud-based program. You have access to your Century 21 account with Google. It's the upgraded account, which means you got lots of drive space. Create a drive folder, call it 123 Main Street, the seller's name, however you want to do it. And then you can put your listing documents in there when they're signed. And that gives everyone access and clear transparency. So that's a great idea. Now, give a thank you. You've won the listing. You filled out your exclusive, your RECO form, and now you're going to thank them for their business already. This sets the stage for the future, and it really shows them you care, shows your creativity. I showed a little basket here. I've seen people have nice, even, things to help sell the home. Like here, thank you so much. By the way, here's a video camera system in order for security that you can install during the listing, and some other stuff house related for the listing. It helps build the rapport, gesture towards your Realtor for Life program that you're building out through the whole buyer or seller journey. And it really does create an over the above expectation of service, which creates referrals. Auxiliary services, be prepared. You need to sit down with the seller at the time and say, when are we doing what, right? And you need to order that. Now, Spotlight is something we've used for 15 years. It's a great program for working on the listing from a marketing standpoint. If you take the full Spotlight 260 package, you're getting the photography. If you're going to do videography or drone, it'll be extra. However, if you want to do none of it through Spotlight and you want to do the $139 program, you can also do that. I know it's not on the sheet, but I'm sort of getting them to change the sheet up. I think that if you have your own photographer, your own videographer, use whoever you want, but definitely use the Spotlight order form and get it up onto a marketable site early that gets you higher SEO rankings, but it also creates a really good landing page that you can promote and get leads off of and really create a good experience for your seller. So my suggestion is get that Spotlight ordered right away. Decide on photography, videography through Spotlight and or separately, that's fine. Stagers, cleaners, maybe have a pre-home inspection if you're holding off offers. It's a great idea, just so you know what needs to be done to the house, to make sure that there's no hiccups come a real home inspection. So all those things need to be done ahead of time, and you need to put dates on them, times, make sure you're there at the home, make sure you're really providing all you can in order to get that house up and ready for sale. One of the things I'm going to tell you, which is coming up in a minute, I'll get to it. Well, I'll mention it now, is that when you create this Spotlight package, they get the website up and going right away. It's a hidden website. People won't find it. But what it allows you to do is preload that website with the listing description so that you're the first and only listing ready prior to it going on the MLS for original content, which boosts the listing up on Google. If you don't do that, that's okay. I think you'll still be on the first page with Spotlight. In fact, I almost guarantee it, but it will help. It'll help really, produce more results from calls as well as, opportunities for leads. Okay. Then you're going to be filling out the MLS data form. And now one of the things I talked to Isabel this morning is updating. We have resources for this, but we really want a specific how to fill in MLS data information form. And the reason why we want that is because there is nuances with the way you fill this in. So we're going to have, it won't take long. It's maybe a 10-minute video we'll put up and go through. Some of the things just to pay attention to when you're filling the MLS data form is that the mandatory fields that are highlighted, which is pink, it looks like, is needed. Although there are ones with little asterisks that are asterisks for a reason. So there's reasons why you don't have to fill in certain ones, and they can be mentioned below. So mandatory if available, mandatory except for mobile and trailer. Like there's exceptions on those. So it's a little, something to pay attention to, but also to learn as you do your first one. So go through with your manager. The front desk can help as well. The accuracy on this form is super important. That's really important to make sure that you're putting the right information in there. So never copy from a previous listing, for example. You can look at a previous listing and to see what they came up with. Then you confirm that that is correct, but never rely on it. Okay, it got me in trouble once, right? Where I sort of relied on something that somebody else did, and it can happen to the best of us. So don't do it. Make sure that you have a look and dig deep into all the information first for yourself. I will mention, Tina, I know your hand is up. I'm just going to get through the rest of it, and then we'll get to the questions when we get at the end there.
No worries.
So perfect. Always confirm information. I already said that. Additional training is available, and we talked to, of course, Isabel making that video for everyone as well. FinTracker. FinTracker needs to be done up front. That is something that came up in a FinTrack audit that was important, that you just don't do a deal and then do FinTrack. That could be non-compliant. And you'll forget. So FinTracker as an app is what we're using to fill in FinTrack information. It ensures compliance of all the terrace financing lists that it searches, and it takes you through a nice format so you don't forget anything too. So if the client is a little nervous about FinTrack, and in fact, I would make it part of my package, is I would give them that FinTrack pamphlet so they know why they're filling it in. There is something called remote ID verification. It's a $5 cost if you've used up your $5 or if you're 5 free. So every year you get 5 free remote information, what that means is when you're filling in the information from their ID, you could send them an email within the system in order for them to scan their ID, take a picture of their face and all this kind of stuff, biometrics, and they do that side of it. But it does cost after 5. Make sure you're answering the information that's on FinTracker accurately. It's not, by the way, I know it's scoring your client for risk, but that's all it's doing. If it happens to be high risk, then yeah, we have to put high risk. Okay. That doesn't mean that deal's not going to go through. That doesn't mean that they can't buy a house. It just means that they have not met the guidelines that FinTracker has for low risk. That's all. So please make sure you're accurate on that. The listing agreement. Now we're back into the forms. We've gone through obviously I'll just back up a little bit. We've gone through all that pre-listing preparation research, did the listing agreement, had the listing signed exclusively first. By the way, when you sign it exclusively, just do it for, a month or, whatever date that you'd like to do the exclusive for. There's no have to on that one. You could put $1 for the list price if you haven't discussed list price yet. And I typically don't get the actual list price to the day before the listing anyway. But now we're going back in after filling the RICO form in the exclusive. And we're going to go back in and we're going to fill out the MLS data sheet, which we just talked about, as well as the MLS listing. And this is where we tell it that it is being listed, in this case, if I can look real close, February the 5th. So we're listing it. It's going on the market today, for example. By the way, you're probably never going to do that where you sign it the day of, but maybe you are. You're probably going to have this pre-sign that we're going live on the 5th because it needs to be loaded and ready 9 o'clock in the morning, and I'll get to that. But that MLS listing will be signed. And then you're going to move on to this schedule for that same form, right, for the listing agreement. This is new. This is Tressa, right? So for those that have done this, great. For those that haven't, this is the new schedule that needs to be attached to a listing agreement and a buyer's agreement. So we have our template in there with the termination clause that needs to be in there, the commission that needs to be in there, and what the listing brokerage will do in terms of providing service. That's what needs to be from us in every agreement. From you, under other, you're going to put everything that you have said you would do. So if you've made any guarantees or promises or anything like that, or just your service levels, it needs to be in there. So I've given examples here. It could be your market analysis and pricing and marketing and advertising, your staging and presentation, your showings and open houses, your communication and feedback, your offer management, transaction coordination, and post-sale assistance. These are things that you should put in there. So I've just, again, given an example. Everyone has their different promises or their different service levels. It is now important from Tressa's standpoint in order to disclose that and be transparent. Okay, so that is the purpose. If you are holding off offers, the seller direction with regards to property and offers needs to be filled out. So you're not giving offers until the certain date and time. Again, there's more training on this. If you're holding off offers and you get a bully offer, you're still going to show it, still going to give them an opportunity and all the rest, I believe. I know you don't have to, and they've told you not to, but some people bully an offer and it's awesome. And you would never want to turn down something that's 100,000 over the price that the sellers are willing to accept. So just make sure you're always keeping your sellers in the loop. The next form is you're listing a appointment information sheet. I know there's a lot of information on this one sheet, but it was the only way that we could come up with a form that is compliant with RICO's new regulatory requirements. I mean, we have to explain what's happening with the lockbox and get their okay with the lockbox, and we still need all the information about how to handle the showings. So we've devised a sheet that has a lot of information on it, but it does need to be signed by the seller to give permission to put the lockbox on the front door. So a lot of people ask that question, why do I need to fill this in? Well, it's a RICO regulation. Installing your lockbox needs to go on the front door. As you can see, this one, I put this one as an example of what not to do. What's wrong with this picture? I threw it up there. That lockbox will just slide right off that knob. So don't do that, but you are putting a lockbox on the front door. You've got permission. You're dropping off your feature sheets. Maybe some nice little signs that say take off shoes, leave card, all that sort of nice stuff as a package, because now you're going to be listing the property. So you filled out all the information. You've dropped off your feature sheets. In the first day, that's all going to happen. When that first day comes on the market, there's a lot of things you need to do. And sometimes we're like, okay, it's live. Let the showings begin. But you are going to make sure that you, one, load the listing live at 9 a.m. The reason why we do that, it's in my listing presentation. I always said it. Timing is important. There's only one day that realtors will go onto their system and say, what's new today? What's new today? And if they do it at 4 o'clock, great. Your 2 o'clock listing will get seen. But if they do it at 10 o'clock in the morning and your listing's not live, they check for the new listings. They sort of see what's out. Those real diligent agents that are on it every day, every minute, and get it done first thing in the morning. Start the boost campaign on social media. These are things that you've promised to do. And I'm a big fan of the boost campaign on social media. I'll spend a couple $100, and that will target to my Spotlight marketing site. You get statistics with your Spotlight marketing site, and you can show that you've doubled the amount of showings on then Realtor.ca, for example, which is the #1 showings. So you double the amount of showings, you double the amount of offers, right? You get more people through the house, you get more offers, and that's how I always position it. So I start that boost campaign. I confirm on Realtor.ca with all the information that's correct and the spelling's right and all this sort of stuff. Especially if you've used the front desk, you've confirmed everything. It's maybe they've transposed your handwriting or something different. Like, you just want to make sure it's correct. Book and promote the open house for the weekend. So you'll be doing that. Check Schedule B and any attachments. So these are things that'll be on the MLS listing. Make sure that it's on there, right? Or any of the other attachments. Confirm that sign on the property, right? Make sure the sign's up. Set the daily prospect search for new comparable listings. The sign on the property, by the way, I didn't put that on the checklist. I probably should have, just because, for some of our offices, we take care of the sign because it's on the checklist of the things that you need, and there's the form that's in there. But just to make a note, probably put that on most, because there are areas where you have to order your own sign. That should be on the checklist. Set up a daily prospect search for new comparable listings. I think I already mentioned that as well. And some of these things that we're going to go through in the next few slides are on the checklist. But I think that's a really good one for just keeping the seller informed of any of the new things that come on the market. So during that first week, you are going to look to promote, right? You're going to be following up on any showings, a daily call to update the client on what you've done today to promote the listing. All your social posting, get out there, do a video, post the video, door knocking the area with flyers of your new listing, door knock the area with your open house invites for the weekend, internet search for online exposure. You're providing feedback daily. Okay. If everything's done right, staging, cleaning, lights are on, nobody's home, all that sort of stuff. and you should get an offer in the first week. Like really, if you've priced it effectively, you should sell that within a week. That's how I believe that wholeheartedly, because there are buyers looking for houses in that neighborhood and they're going to see your house. If you've overpriced it, you're not going to get showings. If you've underpriced it, you're going to get more than one. But your first 2 weeks are really important. And if you haven't sold in the first 2 weeks, it's probably going to take over 2 months, because those are the most important people that were looking to buy a house in the area. And now you're just getting a trickle of people after. So if you do that, you need weekly updates. Like really statistically, what's happening? What's going on realtor.ca? What's going on Spotlight? What's happening with your showings on Broker Bay, and feedback and the calls you've made? You need to keep people up to date every single day, and a weekly summary and meeting with your sellers. If you're not doing that, it's going to go stale. I got a call the other day from somebody that, knows I'm in the business and says, by the way, I've had my listing up in this area, not our area, but another area. And it's not selling. It's been on the market for 2 months. My realtor's not calling me. I have to call them. It's like they're scared to talk to me. And they are. They're scared. I said that. They're just scared to talk to you. Your listing was mispriced. Yeah, bottom line, right? It always comes down to supply and demand. And if there's supply out there and there's a demand, they just didn't like the price. So, maybe it's not showing well, and maybe it's not, he said, they didn't, wasn't much done to it. It was a tenanted home. It didn't get staged, and, all the wrong things, right? I did not interfere in the contract. I listened to them, let them know to speak to their realtor, and go through things with them. Like, just open that line of communication. The other thing to keep in mind is Broker Bay. Broker Bay is where all showings are booked. It's also where your offer registration is going to be done. So make sure that you're logging into Broker Bay, especially even the first day. Make sure that everything's correct. But your weekly feedback reports, even if you talk to them over the phone, go in there, and as you can see in here, you can see the feedback that was on this property, but you'll have your showings in there, and you can provide the feedback even yourself if they've talked to them over the phone. This also can be sent to your sellers. So, some of the stuff like smell, I would say always smell, but the house, the way it showed, it could be, things that you've brought up in the past that you need just the confirmation from other people that, they felt the same way, it's important to get that feedback to your sellers, because it's going to help with price adjustments should it need to be done. When an offer comes in, there is going to be a presentation, whether it's held off or not. I'm not going to go into how to do all this. This is another 2-hour seminar and proper presentation of offers, but in person is preferred. It's the best way to get a deal done. So face-to-face, in person. Always have a scheduled time. If you get an offer in on something, when is it going to be presented? Get the time, get organized, be prepared. If you're looking at multiple offers, watch that other video on how to hold multiple offers. But the key to multiple offers is be prepared, communicate with your buyer agents that are booking. Make sure you keep them right in the loop with everything that's happening. Be organized. Make sure that you have your 10 offers, right? All in a row, in a room with the seller, going through them, narrowing them down. If they're sending any of them back, send them back, all that stuff. You're obviously negotiating on the behalf of your seller, so you're looking for buyer motivations, negotiating the deal. Work with the agent. Try not to put up walls. Sometimes we get in the way of two people that will get to an agreement, and we need to make sure to put them together. We're not there to get in the way. So personalities, if somebody's being there's some bad presentations out there. Somebody just emails the offer to you, didn't even call you, didn't even register it for that matter. And then all of a sudden you find it in your junk mail and they call complaining you didn't present. Well, maybe if you called me, right? So I'm sure the buyers were nice. They just got a bad agent, but don't tell them that they're a terrible agent. Let them know that, this is the scenario. This is how I've organized myself. I'm a professional. And you never know. You never know if that's the buyer that's going to come up and pay the most. So things can fall through. Home inspections can be canceled. Mutual releases can be done. You want to keep a great relationship with all the realtors that put offers in on the property. So don't put up those walls. Now, in terms of the sales information sheet, you have an acceptance, you have a deal in place, you've negotiated it, and you're going to fill it as agent sales information sheet. It's the information sheet we need in order to make sure that everything is processed and put on your trade record sheet properly. So make sure that's filled in and sent into our front desk along with all paperwork. You're going to have a nice checklist. I'm going to get to the checklist here. Hold on one second. There it is. So there's a checklist for Broker Bay. No, SkySlope. Sorry, SkySlope. That's going to be sent to you, and you're going to see what you require and need. Just so everybody knows this, and just as a little tip, you can go into SkySlope, go to your transactions that you've submitted, and submit paperwork directly in. Okay, from your computer PDFs. You don't have to drop it off at the office. You don't have to email it to somebody. It can get lost in translation, etc. You can put it right in there. Okay, I'm going to go backwards. Sorry, out of line. Okay, sales information sheet. Schedule your dates for closings, expiry, things like home inspection, closing dates, conditions, expiries. Your home anniversary as well. All that sort of stuff should go into your calendar. Okay, so that keeps you organized as well and knowing when certain dates are being done. Your notice of fulfillment or waiver of conditions or amendments. Those are 3 forms. This one happens to be a notice of fulfillment because if they've got financing, they need to fulfill that condition. If they're saying, well, we're waiving financing and taking the chance, you need to know it's a waiver and they're just waiving it. If things need to be adjusted, an amendment can be done. Those are the 3 different ways to firm up a deal. Any 3 can work, but they have different reasons for filling in. Just be aware of those reasons. If you're doing an amendment, that's usually because something came up in a home inspection. You want to delete a couple conditions, but with condition of, a price adjustment. It's not really a condition, it's a term. But, those can be done to firm up the deals, but this is how it's going to get firmed up. You're going to be provided a trade record from our office. Now I'm going into the weeds on things. I've added these extra slides just to kind of show you the full process. I wanted to go through the full process rather than just showing you how to list a property, just to give you more context, a little bonus stuff. So here's a trade record. It shows how the commissions were broken down, who gets paid what. Just go over it, make sure it's correct, and then sign it and send it back to us, right? Or put it into SkySlope. There's that checklist I talked about. Now, because everything's firmed up and you've submitted it and everything, doesn't mean the deal's done. Even if it's firmed up, it's great, good to go. You've got that time in between firm up and close that you still want to provide great service, but also want to promote the fact you just sold the property. Let's say RICO stuff aside, because you'll need to know that this happens to have a sold price on here as an example. I just pulled something off the internet, but if you're putting sold price, you need permissions of the buyers and sellers for sold price. So please, get that permission, or don't do the price. You need permission for that. So, but you go and door knock, you let people know, promote the fact you sold it. That's great. You're looking for other listings. There's lots of buyers still looking, so you want more listings. Door knock, closing day gift is really important. That closing day is a special day for sellers and buyers. Usually if they're selling a property, they'll probably purchase something as well. So you want to make sure to, show up with a gift and really make sure to turn on that extra service, because it is the nurture program for the Realtor for Life, which means you should be doing everything you can to stay in touch. It's not just good to provide great service and expectations. You probably get a referral out of it. But if you forget to keep in touch with them, they'll just forget. It only lasts, that high level of service only lasts a certain amount of time for referrals. But if you continue to provide better service after, you are going to get more referrals. So add them into your CRM remarketer. Make sure you qualify them, make your notes, have tasks set up, sign up for the newsletter program. If you have a newsletter program, add them to the newsletter program. Ask for a testimonial. We do that through Testimonial Tree. The constant nurturing, so it can be a program within Remarketer that sends emails, which is only 30% effective. You want to be more effective, you're going to do the paper program, which is the newsletter program. Twice a year, you're going to pop by, give them a gift. You're going to make quarterly calls, see how their house is, see how their life is. You're going to do a once a year real estate portfolio review. And don't forget to say, I build my business on referrals. So if you love, service I gave, I'm hoping, if your neighbor, would you refer me if somebody came past your desk? And they will look for referrals for you if you do all this.